Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My apologies. We are a little bit late today. We are in the middle of another storm, so I am not streaming with the Oracle today. Unfortunately, the weather is so bad, we cannot make it out. So you are stuck with me and me alone. Now, we have a busy show, and the show was going to be done with me and the Oracle, but he is not here. So we're going to go through inflation. We're going to go through Van Eck. We're going to talk about X-Files. We're going to talk about the midnight airdrop. Now, Mags asked us to have a look at FET at the end of yesterday's stream. So we've got a section about FET. We're going to have a little look at the ecosystem. Then we're also going to look at Liberland or Liberland. And then we're going to look at Slash and Hack. That is the game today. That is what we're going to look at. A few good mornings, hidden agendas, Mags. Danny is in chat, Velvet Rope, and Jason. I hope you're all doing very well. Have I missed anybody out? I don't think I have. So that is the show today. I haven't managed to go and get everything set up straight away, simply because I didn't think I was going to be here. I thought we were going to go to the studio and do this. So I'm a little bit behind. But we are going to have a look at the charts first. Have a look at the prices, see where we are. And we had some good news with the CPI data. That was positive news. And if we go over and have a look at the Bitcoin price, we haven't really moved since we streamed yesterday. But what happened was we did actually move back down towards, 78, 79,000, and now we're back up pretty much exactly the same price we were yesterday for Bitcoin. Ethereum, 1550. I'm getting worried about Ethereum. I am getting worried. It needs to make a move. It did this last bull run. It was lagging, and then it came through at the end. I'm hoping that is the case this time. XRP back at magical figure of $2. BNB still under $600. Solana 117.50. What else is in there? Cardano. Cardano has been flipped by Tron. Cardano at 62 cents, and then a few others. The Chainlink price at $12.38 is an absolute steal. Now, a few other things before we get going. First of all, if you won a prize, I think Kabir won a prize, and I think Tariq won a prize. I haven't paid you out. I am going to be paying you out. I am going to be sending it to you. I just need to get round to it. I've had a very hectic few weeks, but I am going to send it to you. Anyway, good morning, KB. I hope you are well. Let's get on with the show, shall we? Let's not dilly and dally too much around here. I am a little bit off the pace at the moment because as I said, I am still trying to catch up. We were supposed to be in the studio, KB, with the Oracle, but the weather here is horrific. We had a gale warning, which we don't normally get. We normally get heavy rain or whatever. We've had a gale warning, and it didn't look that bad last night, and it's really overcast at this moment in time, so we're avoiding it. A few gainers today. Jasmine is up, AB is up, Casper is up, Render is up, Hyper is up, or should I say Hype is up. Losers, EOS seems to be sliding back down after its good news story, and IP seems to be sliding back down. Flare, Mantra, again, Mantra's at $6.50. It's done incredibly well considering the correction we've had. I think Mantra's come down from, $8? It's not really come down that far. It's done quite well. Right, let me close some of these things down and we can get on with the show. And as I said, I'm normally prepared like a Boy Scout, but unfortunately, I just haven't got everything ready apart from the actual agenda. So everything is still a bit messed up. Right then, some X-Files for you. Don't be fooled, people who sold Bitcoin at slightly higher prices in an attempt to buy it back lower always end up with less Bitcoin in the long run. Taxes, fees, and poor trading skill. Always, there are no exceptions, buy and hold. I'd agree with this to a certain extent. What tends to happen is you sell the top thinking it's the top. and then you wait for what you think is the bottom, whether that be 60,000, 70,000, and maybe you sold at 92,000. And you'll hold on and you'll hold on and you hold on. And maybe you'll be lucky. And maybe you sold out at 95 and you bought back in at 82. Congratulations. But some people will sell out at, say, 92, 93, think that we're going to go down. There's going to be a God candle taking us back to 95,000, and they have been left on the sidelines. It happens all the time, and it happens more than you think. Many people out there, you read this and you think, well, it's obvious. You sell at 100,000 and you wait for it to come back down. And yes, that is a strategy, and it works for so many people. We've looked at so many people who've sold the top or sold near the top, and they're waiting for their bottom. And that bottom they might think is 60, 70,000, but so many more people get caught out than actually benefit from it. The other side, what I would say to that is, if you are in massive profits, you should take some off the table. Okay, take some profit off the table. That's never bad advice either. European Union seeks to make a completely balanced trade deal with the United States. This was last night. Again, I've said this every day. These trade wars are going to be resolved faster than the majority of people are talking about. And yes, some of them might take a few months. China might take 3 years. China might just wait for Donald Trump to be replaced in the next presidential election. Remember, Xi has the rest of his life. Trump has 3.5 years, 3 years, 9 months, whatever it might be. So again, yes, I understand China might be the sticking block, but the rest of the world will be reset way before then. Gold has hit a new all-time high of $3,171 per ounce. If there is a signal that we are going through the worst of times, possible recession, possible conflicts around the world, possible depression in the markets, trade wars, if there's anything to signal to us that this is happening, it is the price of gold. It is like the miner bird. It's the bird in the mine, the one that tweets until it reaches the gas and then it gives away. And this is what gold is. Gold is telling us that there is something going on and people are flocking to gold. Others are saying that this is a result of China selling treasuries, American treasuries, and buying gold. That's also a possibility. But gold at all-time highs normally indicates that there is something amiss in the markets because it's the riskiest off asset you can get. We are not doing so well in the markets. We're not doing so well in the economy. We have seen rates start to come down, and we might see interest rates start to come down. But at this moment in time, I think gold is where it needs to be. Bitcoin versus NASDAQ, who is winning? 1 year, Bitcoin is up 10.6%. NASDAQ is down 4%. Over 5 years, Bitcoin is up 1,000%. NASDAQ is up almost 100%. And over 10 years, Bitcoin is up 31,000%. Again, over the long term, I think we said this yesterday, over the long term, Bitcoin is going to do well. Okay, Bitcoin is going to do well over the long term. If you buy Bitcoin, if you bought Bitcoin in January and now you're sitting on your Bitcoin, you're down 20% or so. If you hold on to your Bitcoin for the next 6 years, you are likely to be up a multiple of what you got in at. Maybe 6 or 7 years, Bitcoin is at $300,000. You bought in at $100,000, you are a 3x up. So Bitcoin repays you for being patient. That's probably where I would say that's the way you should look at Bitcoin. Don't look at Bitcoin as something you can get today or tomorrow and expect to make $1 million by the end of the year. You buy Bitcoin, you hold on to it. Helium has announced that the SEC's lawsuit alleging unregistered security sales has been dismissed with prejudice. Filed in January, the case targeted the distribution of HNT, mobile and IoT tokens via Helium hotspots. The dismissal confirms these distributions are not securities and the SEC cannot refile the same claims. Again, we said yesterday when they were having a go at Gary Gensler, which I didn't agree with. This is just one of those things where all of these spurious claims get put to bed. And I think this is the end of this kind of enforcement. What I would say is that if we start to see enforcement being brought from now on, then they're serious cases, in my opinion. The guy that we've told you about that was involved with Melania, maybe even Dave Portnoy, people like that, I think they're the ones which are likely to start to see some kind of enforcement against them. Now, before we go any further, I do believe the Dixie has broken down. Just before we came on, I think China announced that it was going to increase tariffs on American goods. Now, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion only, I could not give one monkey's tail about what China imposes on America. America barely exports to China. Yes, it does, of course it does, but it barely exports to China. So when China comes out and says this is going to be 145% tax, America will go back to them. And what we've seen is we have seen the DXY break down to levels that we haven't seen since March 2022, 3 years ago. And this line here, this was the line I was expecting us to bounce off. Now, it's a wick, maybe we bounce up, but we are below 100. Look at that. Now, we want Bitcoin, do we not, to go to the moon? Now, there are a multitude of things that we need for Bitcoin to go to the moon. One of which is a weak-ish dollar. Weakish dollar. We don't want the dollar to go to zero, clearly, but we want a weakish dollar. So 99, 98, 103, whatever it might be. Number one, interest rates being cut. Number two, money printer being turned back on. Number three, yes, there's loads of other things to look at apart from that. Unemployment rates, recession, things like that. I know that. But if you're going to look at three, it's a weak dollar, lower interest rates, and the money printer being turned on. And they're the three that I look at every Monday. And I wouldn't have brought this up except somebody said that we had broken down. Now, I don't expect this to stay down here. And I certainly don't think it's going to do that. I think what we're likely to see is something like that, okay, where it will rebound. But this is the trade war being played out between China and America. And at the end of the day, it's China and America that's going to have the trade war. It's not going to be anybody else. The EU have folded like a pack of cards, like a cheap pack of cards. Mexico and Canada, they're going to come to an agreement with America. It's really just China. But rather than just target China, Trump went for everybody. And, the DXY broke down. That's probably going to rebound as soon as America retaliates, probably some point this afternoon. Anyway, let's move on very quickly and see where we are. I will hold my Bitcoin for 10 years after I retire. Well, I tell you what, if you are buying Bitcoin today to hold for 10 years, you are going to see 2 more cycles, potentially, if this still plays out. Now, if we say conservatively 120,000 this cycle, next cycle, maybe 250,000, maybe the cycle after 400, 500,000, depending on adoption and everything else. But if you're holding Bitcoin today, I would expect it to be worth anywhere around 5 to 6 to 7 times more than it is right now. And that's conservative. You've got people that will tell you it'll be $1 million, and that's fine. If you hold one Bitcoin today and they have, calculated it out to be $1 million in 6 or 7 years' time, you just hold on to your Bitcoin. Very, very simple. Now, the good news is inflation. I said yesterday, inflation below 3% would be really good. And I said, 2.8% would be fantastic. Now, there's different types of inflation because being America, they can't just have one number, okay? They've got core CPI, CPI, month-on-month CPI, you know the score. They've got multiple different versions of this. And the one that really matters is the annual CPI, rather than the month-on-month, which is 0.2, 0.3, whatever it might be. So it came in at 2.4. Lower than the anticipated 2.5, which is down from 2.8. And we did say yesterday, there's a couple of main reasons for this. The lower oil price in America is certainly contributed. Think about oil and think about diesel and petrol. Everything in America has to be delivered, whether that be goods, whether that be, you know, the actual petrol and diesel being delivered itself to the gas stations around America. The price of eggs depends on diesel. The price of every single thing in America depends on diesel. So if that comes down dramatically, then everything will come down because the cost of delivery comes down. So that's a bonus. What I think was a worry was that there was going to be some kind of bounce in inflation. It was going to come down and then it was going to start to come back up again. And so far, so good. Now, I think the trade war with China could potentially start to push the prices back up. I'm not saying in everything, and I'm not saying we're going to go back to 5%, but they might see a blip to the upside, and I think that's what Powell is worried about. But this is still massively bullish news. The markets haven't reacted too well to this. Why? Because they believe that this gives Trump more ammunition to go after tariffs. Because if inflation is under control, then he can keep the tariffs going for longer. Because if inflation was starting to creep up, tariffs are only going to increase inflation, and then he'd have pressure to stop. But being that inflation is coming down, he can continue with his tariff wars. So all in all, I mean, I'm getting a bit tired of talking about tariffs and everything else. It's a bit of the same old, same old. I don't really want to do this for the rest of the show. It's not that important, but we should move on. Now then, NASDAQ files to list the VanEck Spot Avalanche ETF. Now, I think we mentioned this in a tweet, did we not, yesterday? But we have a bit more information about it. NASDAQ has filed to list the Avalanche ETF, expanding spot crypto product offerings as VanEck eyes SEC approval for AVAX-based exposure. The American Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, has filed an application with the SEC to list this. The filing, signed by NASDAQ's Executive Vice President, very, very good. If approved, the VanEck Avalanche ETF would allow investors to gain exposure to Avalanche. AVAX is up. It's still at $18. Remember, a lot of the prices of a lot of these coins, they're in bear market territory. You know, we were talking about Avalanche at $30 end of last year. We're at $18.50. We've come a long way in the wrong direction. The ETF would hold the tokens and track the price. We know about these things. According to the filing, asset manager VanEck Digital Assets will sponsor the trust, while a third-party custodian will hold all the tokens on the trust's behalf. At this moment in time, there is one major custodian in America, but multiple other exchanges now have been authorized to be custodians. So whereas in the past you've had that exchange being given the rights to hold all of the tokens, other exchanges are now given the green light to do the same thing. So what that means is there's going to be competition on price for being a custodian of some of these ETFs. So all in all, this is a positive thing. So the filing follows the efforts to register the spot on March the 10th. That's managed to register the crypto investment product as a trust corporate service company in Delaware. The application marks the fourth standalone crypto ETF product alongside Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. It filed for its spot Solana ETF. We don't need to go into any more of this. The end of the day, by the end of this year, we're going to have multiple ETFs. And I've said, I think I said this a couple of weeks ago as well. I think having a portfolio that's based solely on ETFs isn't a bad idea. And the more that we go along this path and the more choice there is, I think the less people are going to come to crypto and go via the ETFs. So at this moment in time, you've got Bitcoin and Ethereum. People want to buy XRP, they've got to go and use an exchange. They've got to go and use Robinhood. By the end of this year, you could have an ETF portfolio of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Avalanche, maybe Cardano, maybe Litecoin, right? Well, we always talk on this channel about only really having 6 to 8 crypto assets in your portfolio. Well, you've got them via the ETF. So is it a good thing? Yes, it is a good thing, because people who don't know how to use exchanges, people that don't know how to use apps and things like that, they can phone up their asset manager and say, listen, I've got $100,000, what do I do? And he will say, 60-40, 60% in Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum and Solana, 40% into XRP, Cardano, Avalanche, and whatever else it might be. And that way, the person goes, thank you, puts the phone down, and then they hold $100,000 of crypto assets. It's not great for the rest of the ecosystem, number one. Number two, it's not great for crypto assets that don't have an ETF. Now, I'm not saying it's the end of crypto, by all means. What I'm saying is, I think the ETFs are going to draw some of the liquidity, maybe even a lot of the liquidity, away from crypto and through to these ETFs. And those prices will appreciate in those assets that have an ETF. So, as I've said maybe once or twice before, I think having an ETF portfolio might not be a bad idea. It might not be a bad idea, and I'm not saying it's the best portfolio to have, because you won't have AI, you won't have real world assets, you won't have any meme coins. But maybe we're not going to get 2 billion people using crypto exchanges. Maybe we're not going to get 2 billion people with an app on their phone buying and selling Ondo, or buying and selling Maple, or buying and selling FET. Maybe we're going to have 1.5 billion people using ETFs and 500 million people using apps. I don't know how it's going to be divided up, but it would be a good thing in general for the adoption of crypto, just maybe not great for crypto, because of course alt season begins when the money flows out of Bitcoin, and the money ain't flowing out of Bitcoin. The money is staying in Bitcoin. Now then, this seems to be the longest running saga in crypto. It's been going on for what feels like the majority of my crypto life. And it hasn't, because 2016, way before any of this happens, I bought my first Bitcoin. But all I seem to remember is the XRP lawsuit. It's like it's just been there. It's like XRP goes live, lawsuit, and we've been going on since then. I think that this is the end. I think this is the end. I think we're never going to mention this ever again. I think Ripple and SEC are only ever going to be mentioned in stories where we talk about previous litigation cases. Both parties have resolved the lawsuit. They have basically called for this to be settled. The United States, or the SEC, sorry, and Ripple have filed a joint motion after the settlement. According to the filing lodged with the both parties want the appeals to be held in abeyance, pending the court's final approval of the resolution. While this joint motion, which named Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse and founder Chris Larsen as appellees, the parties have agreed not to take any further action. It comes as the regulator dismissed the lawsuit's appeal, changing their shift in America. Of course, we've now got Trump and not Biden. It's worth noting that the court document shared by lawyer James Phelan also states that Ripple must submit a status report within 60 days if it does not get approved. Both sides agrees to pause the appeal to avoid further legal costs. Again, I think this is the end. I think this is the end of it. It's just become a drama. Now, something else that happened that I didn't mention either is that Hidden Road, which is a brokerage firm, Ripple bought it for 1.25 billion on Wednesday. They believe the move was initiated to strengthen their position in the mainstream financial space. Now, this isn't the first time this has happened with a crypto company, and it won't be the last. There are other crypto exchanges that are buying other brokerage firms, and this has been going on for 3 months now, since January, since Trump's inauguration. And the reason is, very simply put, crypto companies, especially exchanges, they don't want to just be an exchange. They want to be a crypto bank. They want to be a crypto stocks and shares company. Let me just do this for a second. Let's get rid of the lag. So what that means is, again, it's very difficult because I can't mention names of exchanges because I don't want to offend the exchange that we're streaming on. But these companies have been sitting on bags of cash for 2, 3, 4 years, waiting for a change in the administration. They've got that now. And what they're doing is they are now starting to jostle with banks. So traditional banks are struggling. The fractional reserve system clearly doesn't work when it is stress tested, and they collapse. And crypto banks, crypto exchanges are coming along, and they are looking at who they can pick up on the cheap. They're looking at who they can get access to, and they are buying brokerage firms. They will also start to buy banks and get banking licenses. You then have the other crossover where you have the likes of X starting to acquire, I think they've got 40 different money transmitter licenses now. So you have all sides converging on the banking industry. And we're going to get to a point, and BlackRock, I've said this to you many times before, with their 24/7 exchange, they're all going to converge in the middle. And you're going to have crypto banks, banks offering crypto, traditional financial institutions offering crypto and banking, and they're all going to meet in the middle. And there's going to be a massive, great big shakeout in the next 5 or 10 years between traditional banking, crypto exchanges, and traditional finance. And they're all going to cross over. At the end of the day, if you are BlackRock, why do you need banks? You need a bank because that's where the person's money is. If the person's money is in crypto, you don't need the bank. You don't need the middleman. You've got deals between MetaMask, Visa, and MasterCard. You don't need a bank. You've got a crypto exchange where the majority of your wealth might be kept. You don't need a bank. So banks are on the back foot, and they're being pushed further and further back. And the likes of BlackRock, if they can cut out the banking system and go straight to crypto, they get more of the pie and more of the profit because they don't have to pay the banks. So there's this massive, massive convergence, and it would not surprise me. It would not surprise me if we see, for example, I can't mention names, obviously, but if we saw the merger of a mega merger between one of the top 5 exchanges in the world and one of the top 5 banks in America, it would not surprise me. Standard Chartered, for example, becoming a 50-50 partner with a crypto exchange wouldn't surprise me. Bank of America wouldn't surprise me. I think the BlackRocks and the Goldman Sachs, they already exist and they're already too big. But don't be surprised if you see Barclays Bank become Barclays Blockchain. It would just be one of those things that I think is on the cards. I mean, we've seen it in the past. You know, Activision Blizzard, they're kind of in the same industry. They merged. AOL merged with... Who did AOL merge with? Can't remember now. It was somebody massive, wasn't it? It wasn't Disney, but it was somebody huge. And it's going to happen in the future. It's going to happen again in the future. Right, let me just bring this up. I have reset the browser. There we go. Cardano founder hints at surprising airdrop to 37 million users. It is not a surprising airdrop. Okay, it's an airdrop that has been on the cards for months. What is surprising is who's to come back up, and then we will be fine. We will be fine. There we go. We're back. Fantastic. Right then. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of an issue. Thank you. I did see your message. Is it Velvet Rope? Who just sent that message? Hidden Agendas. Thank you. Yes, I can see that. Right then. Charles has announced the up-and-coming Midnight Airdrop will target 37 million users. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Ripple, Solana, Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, and Polygon among the blockchains that will see the Midnight Airdrop. He made the announcement in Paris on April 9th. Midnight is Cardano's sidechain project that leverages ZK proofs to focus on privacy. Users from different blockchains can interact with it with associated tokens need to convert them. The Cardano founder referred to the ability as chain abstraction. The up-and-coming airdrop he referred to includes the distribution of the sidechain's dual tokens, the governance token Knight, and the privacy transaction token Dust. An airdrop distributes tokens among early funders and selected users. The Midnight airdrop will distribute tokens among 37 million users, he said. He also spoke about the development of blockchain tech at length during the address. He broke it down into 4 phases of development. We don't need to read about that, 4 phases of development. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have wallets associated with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Ripple, Solana, Binance Smart Chain, and Avalanche, and you, I imagine, have transacted on any of those blockchains in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, then you should be able to get some of this token. If this token is airdropped to that many people across that many blockchains, and it is not valued at the right amount, this token will absolutely tank to start with. And then maybe over time it will build value. But hitting that many people at once, it's just going to lead to the price going through the floor. And maybe it will pump on day one, maybe, but I think it will tank. Every token airdrop that has happened in the last few months has gone down. I got the Magic Eden airdrop, which I sold at $5 or $6, whatever it was, and I think the price came down to $1.50, $2. There's, what was the other example? Pudgy Penguins, massively surprised about that one, but it followed the market. That's down massively. I held on to that one. Others I've sold. And with this, the chances are I'm likely to just sell this token, because sell it to Solana if you're on Solana, sell it to BNB if it's on the Binance Smart Chain. You know the score. But long term, I can see it being a successful token, because it's going to be neat. Excuse me, that went the wrong way. It's going to be needed, especially if Charles and Cardano can really get access to the Bitcoin blockchain. That's going to be the key. Right then, let us move on very quickly. Now, there's 2 parts to this element, and this is aimed at Mags. So if you're watching, this is for you. And this is to do with Fetch, ASI, there's lots of different names for it. Singularity still tweet about it, Ocean still tweet about it, but it is an amalgamation of them all. Now, the reason I brought this up and not a specific article about FET is that there aren't that many specific articles out there about FET that go back over the last week or 2. And I wanted to get some up-to-date news for you. Now, this is 2 months old. Everything else out there is of a similar age. The biggest bit of news to come out about AI in the last 3 months has been that the American government have signed a deal worth $500 billion to work on AI in the medical industry and many other places. Sam Altman was there, and there's a few other people there as well. Now, the reason I brought this up is, of course, we hold all of these tokens. That's not another reason, but we're going to look at the element to do with Fetch. Right. So, for a reminder of what Fetch is, It serves as a leader in combining blockchain tech with artificial intelligence. It offers an open and distributed machine learning platform through which automated AI operations share information across multiple sectors: energy, transportation, financial, and medical. The token enables the user to create, deploy, and train digital twins, autonomous agents that interact within the Fetch ecosystem. Developers utilize FET for accessing machine learning utilities and implementing decentralized apps. Staking, we don't need to read about that. So basically what happens is, if you are a large institution and you want a lot of information processing, or you want a lot of research being done in a particular field, you go to FET. And within FET, you have all of these decentralized distributed bots in Brazil, in Canada, in Europe, wherever it might be. And you pay for the AI bots to perform your tasks. And you pay for that in FET, or as it is nowadays, ASI. Now, many moons ago, before the merger, my two favorites were Fetch and Singularity. And after the merger, you had Fetched working with Singularity, working with Oceans, and a fourth one that begins with a C. I can't remember the name off now. It's not Cosmos. Q something or other. But anyway, there's about 5 or 6 of them that work together now. Now, this all sounds lovely, okay? It's all great. But what does it actually do? Well, that is where this image comes along, because this is probably the type of thing you need to look at to understand what FET is all about. Now I'm going to make it big enough for you to see. I did this. Mags is in chat. Hello, Mags. Right, I made this type of segment about Chainlink maybe 2 years ago, 18 months ago, on one of these live streams. Because people were, saying Chainlink doesn't have a future. It's not really got anything going for it. It doesn't have any partnerships, whatever it might be. Now, at the time, I said the same thing. They have spent 4 years building relationships, partnerships, signing memorandums of association, and they have been working with real life applications. 4 years later, Chainlink is everywhere. Chainlink is integrated at the core of everything. CCP will allow the seamless flow of liquidity across whatever is connected to it. And that includes Visa, and that includes MasterCard, and it includes the likes of the decentralized exchanges, the likes of traditional exchanges, you name it. It's got everything on there. Now, what I've brought up here is the list of projects that are associated with the alliance, and it's broken down into its constituent parts. So you can see here we've got Fetch and we've got Singularity. One of the very first partnerships, big partnerships that I remember them talking about was Bosch, and Bosch is creating an incubator, a real world incubator for working with blockchain technology, Web3 technology. But they're only one of a few. You can look across at the different blockchains that they are working with. Polygon, Kudos is the other one, by the way. Optimism is there, as you would expect. Moving down here, DeFi and real world assets, they're associated with DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure networks. You then have robotics, you have enterprise institutions with various ones down there. And I'm sure some of you are going to understand and know some of these names on here more than I do. You might recognize some as well. They've also working with lots and lots of universities. Cambridge, for example, Stanford is listed on there. So this ecosystem is an ecosystem of people that are working together. Now, if you brought this many people together to work on a project, how long do you think it would take for some of this to come to fruition? Because, as I've said many times before, when you're in Web3, everything moves at a lightning pace. Everything moves at 1,000 miles an hour. And then what happens is you meet traditional businesses, and everything grinds to a halt. Let me bring that up a little bit more. There we go. Actually, no, I'll bring it up. There we go. Everything grinds to a halt, and things that take weeks or months in crypto take months or years in the real world, because you need meetings and board meetings and resolutions and legal documents being signed and all that kind of good stuff. So it's going to take a lot of time. This ASI alliance only came about last year. The forming of it only came about last year. Now, the biggest surprise to me of all of this is the price of the token. I have said, and I will stand by the fact that this is a $5 billion project. At this moment in time, I don't even think it's $1 billion anymore. It's followed the market down dramatically. Okay? Everything has been on a slide. We can pick any token you want and look at it, and maybe bar a few, everything has slid since January, FET included. And one of the things that we talk about on here is what is going to be here in 4 years' time. What projects are building a project that has longevity and has a value proposition and a revenue model. Revenue model is more important than nearly everything that you're ever shown. How does FET make money? Somebody wants AI to process and solve a problem. They approach this ASI alliance. They pay in ASI tokens. It will then go away. It will solve the problem and it will provide the solution. Simple revenue model. Okay? Money goes in, solution comes out, profit in the middle. Okay? It's simple. Really, really simple to follow. Chainlink is the same thing. Anything that runs along Chainlink, there is a tiny fraction paid to Chainlink. And when you're talking about trillions of dollars, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars in profit. ASI Alliance, you are talking about, people say, well, what's the use case for ASI Alliance? What's the use case for the AI? The AI is built over a large decentralized set of nodes and bots. And problems are solved using that distributed network. Why is it distributed? Because yes, you could have them all in one data center, but the cost of that would be massive. Each one of those nodes is run by a third party who gets paid in this token. So it's a lower cost to FET or ASI to have this distributed system. It's a lower cost to the company coming along and trying to have the problem solved because it's distributed. You have economies of scale working everywhere. And it's easy for you to understand how it makes money. Okay, money goes in, problem gets solved, problem comes out. Easy to understand. So long term, I can't see, short of the entire project failing, I can't see how this doesn't exist in some way, shape or form in the next 4 or 5 years. Next point, and one that I think needs to be made, is this FET started out as the largest independent AI business. If you go and look at Sam Altman's company, it's a profit-making business now. It's all about profit. They don't care about doing things the right way. They care about profit. They are the evil Terminator-style people. ASI is trying to do things the right way and, in theory, the moral way. So there is also a moral reason to use ASI Alliance, because going off and using Sam Altman's company or Microsoft's company or Google's company, you're just using something that they are telling you to use. Use these people, okay? So there is a moral reason to support ASI, but more importantly, there is a revenue and a profit model behind it that just works. And the more people that want to use AI, the more this is going to be a success. Now, you could turn around and say, yeah, but can't Google just go and copy this? Yes, they can. The same thing could be said about Chainlink, but it's taken Chainlink 4 or 6 years to get to the point it is now. It's going to cost Google or Microsoft an inordinate amount of time to catch up with Chainlink. Why do you think Google or Alphabet, Microsoft and Meta, why do you think they just go and buy companies? They could have made their own WhatsApp, but they bought it because it comes with the user base. Going after and trying to replicate an ASI style product that has this kind of ecosystem, it's a very, very difficult job. Very difficult job. So I think because they've spent the time in the trenches, as the youth say nowadays, I think it has some longevity to it. And that's why I back that project. Every project that I like or I talk about on here that I hold, I do have my own reasons for holding it. Now, you might disagree with what I've said. That's fine. But that's why I hold ASI. That's why I think it's going to be a big project. Now, I have been, price-wise, I have been wrong on loads of things. Polygon and Matic, which has switched to Pol, should not be the price it is. It should not be the market cap it is. Okay? But I don't think it's going to disappear anytime soon, because the revenue it makes and the revenue model and everything else associated with it and the ag layer at some point is going to come to fruition. And if it doesn't, then the whole ecosystem is in bother, not just Polygon Matic. If ASI fails, it's a failure of the adoption of AI rather than the adoption of ASI, in my opinion. Now then, let's move very quickly on. How long do we have left, by the way? 12 minutes, and we have got, how many things do we need to talk about? I don't even know where we're up to. 2 things to talk about. Good. We've got Liberland and we've got Slash Hack. Justin Sun, Rand Paul, Brock Pierce and Karnika Yashwant join forces to power Liberland. Now, Brock Pierce, if you've ever watched a documentary about the OGs, the people that got into Bitcoin really early on, you will see Brock Pierce. He's been out of the limelight for probably 3 years. You probably know Justin Sun from Tron. Certainly, there he is down there, looking cool. He's the guy that paid $600,000 for a banana and ate it. Rand Paul, you will know if you know anything about American politics. And I have never heard of Karnika Yashwant, which might show my ignorance, but I've never heard of this person. So Liberland is a sovereign state located between Croatia and Serbia and is preparing to celebrate its 10th anniversary this weekend. The blockchain-based nation has already chosen leaders for its Congress ahead of building the next phase of its decentralization. Tron founder and Prime Minister of Liberland, Justin Sun, has publicly committed to supporting the nation's infrastructure. He'll be attending the much-anticipated event while setting the tone for the future. I can't help but laugh. It's like, I don't know. People who, I'm not saying he's self-appointed Prime Minister of Liberland, but it just makes me laugh. Former US Senator Rand Paul and blockchain entrepreneur Brock Pierce are also confirmed to deliver remarks. So Liberland taps Tron for nation building. He called the anniversary a top priority for both himself and his team. This anniversary is a very big thing for Liberland, as it will be a major event where all citizens can come together and share their vision. Sun's message comes amid rising interest in the micronation's efforts to build a blockchain-based governance framework. The self-declared libertarian micronation has long positioned itself as a testing ground for digital democracy and decentralized infrastructure. So, we don't need to read any more about that. What I would say here is, I'm not saying this is folly, because that's probably not the right way to look at it. Have a nice day to you as well, Jason. Have a nice God. So, what I would say is these types of experiments are just that. They're experiments. Experiments in testing the robustness of crypto from the point of view of governance. So a good example of this would be if your government had an app on everybody's phone and you wanted to have a referendum on contentious issues. I'm trying to think of a contentious issue that isn't that contentious. Friday afternoons off. Should we have Friday afternoons off? And in return for having Friday afternoons off, you lose 5% of your pay. for example, there would be a button to press on your phone, and you would press it, and you would vote Friday afternoons off to lose 5% of my pay. Okay, fair enough, done. Then the following day, it might be, should we allow aid to be sent to Wales because they've got sheep problems? Yes or no? Off you go. At what point do people stop caring about making their own decisions? When you see Liberland and you see governance associated with it, are they going to be asking their residents the right questions about the right things that they want governance for? Or are they just going to pester the hell out of them? You know, Jupiter does what, 2 to 3 votes a month? I think that's a good amount. Is Liberland just going to message people and say, do you want your milk delivering on Sundays these days? Do you want your rubbish collecting on a Monday or a Tuesday? At what point does governance become onerous? Because you elect these people to make decisions for you, not for them to keep asking you what decisions there are to be made. So again, it's an experiment. It is likely to fail, but that doesn't mean we can't learn a lot from it. That's the key. Things can fail time and time again, and the person that comes out the other end from that failure can be a massive success. That's the way to look at it. You know, if you asked Michael Jordan, how many times did he miss in his career? How many times out of 150,000 shots did he miss? 50,000, 40,000 shots? But after every miss, did he think that was the end of the world? No, he just kept shooting and he kept practicing. And that's the thing with entrepreneurs. Somebody pointed out that there's a very, one of the big exchanges in the world, one of the top 3 exchanges in the world, the CEO had failed massively at his previous business. And everybody just assumed because he failed at that business, he was going to fail at this business. If you fail at something, baking a cake, if you fail at baking a cake and you give up, you'll never bake a cake. If you fail at baking a cake and then you try again and you fail at baking the cake, and the 3rd time and the 4th time you actually end up baking a cake, was it not worth failing 4 times to succeed once? And that would be my argument with anybody that runs any business. You're going to fail. You just need to learn to deal with that and take what you know, why did you fail? If you keep making the same mistakes, it's pointless trying to make a cake. If you keep putting the eggs in without cracking them, then of course you're never going to bake a cake, are you? You've got to crack the eggs, you've got to put the right amount of flour in, amount of milk in or whatever. And that's the same with running a business. If you spend all of your money and you can't pay wages and your staff leave, your business is finished. If you don't charge enough for your products, your business is finished. So you've got to make the right mistakes, not the wrong mistakes. Anyway, moving on very quickly. Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash quits X after a Solana meme coin hack. There he is. I went to see Guns N' Roses in 1988 in Manchester. 1988. 37 years ago I went to watch them with Faith No More and Soundgarden. And Faith No More were the best band on the day. And Guns N' Roses turned up late, did the bare minimum they could do, and disappeared. But Slash was probably my favourite member of the band. Now, he got hacked, which is quite miserable, really. And he's abandoned X after his account was hacked to promote a meme coin. He's permanently abandoned X, citing repeated hacks that use his account to promote a meme coin. The decision came just a week after they compromised his verified account to promote a meme coin called Guns, falsely positioning it as an official Guns N' Roses crypto project. This was a considered decision after repeated hacks, and it reflects a shift in how I'd like to stay connected moving forward. It also makes it very clear to me that he does not know how to set up his security settings. He told his followers in what could, at least for now, be his final tweet. It remains unclear why he claimed the hacks were repeated, or if the message was directly specifically at the April 2 hacking incident. And there he is, saying that he's leaving. You can still find me on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook, where I'll be posting regular updates. Towards the end of his farewell tweet, he directed fans to follow him. Welcome to the jungle. There we go. Now, there were, and there always will be, meme coins associated with celebrities. Always going to get that type of hack. And there are always going to be other types where the celebrity publicly endorses the tokens. And for the upteenth time this month, do not buy any celebrity token. Okay? Hayley Welsh, no. Hulk Hogan, no. Andrew Tate, certainly not. Iggy Azalea, no. Absolutely not. Do not go and buy any meme coin associated with a celebrity. Okay? There are meme coins and there are meme coins. And anything that comes out from a celebrity is going to either be a pump and dump, or in the case of Slash, a hack, or even if the project has the best interests at heart, it will still probably fail because there is no inherent value with that project at all. And that really is the issue with meme coins. They don't have any inherent value. Only when they become a community coin do they have value. And community coins have value because there is either a roadmap or there is a utility to that token, or there is a movement behind that token. And they will succeed over the long term, but your average pump and dump isn't going to succeed. Okay, now this is the end of the show. It is 11:58. We finished a bit earlier today, and that's simply because we were supposed to be streaming from the studio with the Oracle. The Oracle was supposed to be here. The Oracle is not here. There's a gale outside. My internet went off very briefly a minute ago. So we've managed to see that out, which is good. We keep having power cuts as well because we live in a third world country, which is also great. So anyway, it's Friday. What do I expect from the weekend? I think we're going to hang around between 79,000 and 82,000. That's where I think we're going to hang around. What's going to absolutely change this is Trump today. It's Friday, so it's the fifth working day in America. Trump is likely to come out. If there is another trade announcement, maybe somebody's come to a deal, whatever it might be, then I expect some kind of movement in the market. But I think the market is getting fatigued by all of this tariff announcements, and I don't blame it. I think it's high time that the markets move on. To do that, we need Trump to calm down. Okay, he's had his bit of fun. Now we need to calm down. We need rate cuts next month, and then we can start to move on with our lives and start looking upwards and not sideways and downwards. But anyway, a big thank you to everybody in chat. Mags, Tariq is here. Hidden is here. KB is here, I believe. Danny is here. Kishan is here, I think. A big thank you to you all for coming today. It's been a bit of a disjointed show. My head hasn't been in it today. I've been all over the place because I wasn't expecting to be where I am. I was expecting to be somewhere else. So all of my plans all gone out the window. So have a great weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Stay the course. We've got 7 months to go. 7 months to go, either for all-time highs or between now and then to get somewhere near all-time highs again. Okay? It's not over. Everything is still in place for an end-of-year party. So with that being said, I'm going to go. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm going to make some videos tomorrow and Sunday for you all as well. See you all on Monday. Have a nice weekend off. Take care.